Hi Bala, nice to meet you.
Hi,
My
Amit.
name is Amit. I'm part of the IIM Alumni Singapore, and it's really great to have this opportunity to catch up with you today. But before we begin, would you mind introducing yourself for the benefit of our listeners?
Thank you, Amit, and thanks for having me on your program. It's a pleasure. I um, I live in Singapore, as you know. I have lived here for more than 20 years. So I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad in the 80s. I leave it there, and then I've had a kind of a two-part professional career. The first 20 odd years, 25 years was the normal corporate career everybody had, and I moved from I think moved from job A to B to C, and then I sort of left the corporate side. And in the last 16, 17 years, I have a bunch of other things that I've been on to. Primarily co-founding an international school in Singapore and sort of co-running it as well, along with my wife. At the same time, I took to some teaching at SMU, did it for about 10 years as an adjunct faculty in the marketing discipline. And towards the later part of my career, I also started dabbling in writing, which is quite a passion for me nowadays.
Which school is this, by the way, Bala?
This is NPS International School.
Right.
We started in 2008. Some of the people would know NPS in Bangalore, as well as another school called the International School Bangalore, TISB as they call it. So we are partners, joint venture with the NPS group of schools in Bangalore, who are also very highly reputed in the southern part of India.
Right. Okay. Could you tell me about your, greatest moment or proudest moment in your career, and a little bit of the story about how that was?
Um, I would say one in the corporate during the corporate times, and one after the school started. Um, I moved into one of the companies which started an India operation amongst others who were already there. This was industrial fragrance or perfumery, as it's called. And I was the first divisional head of that business for that company in India. So therefore, we were starting to be a fresh thought leader amongst the customers, to bring in new approaches, to hire different kind of people, to establish um, a better way of targeting customers and getting new businesses, establishing good internal processes, and so on. The satisfying moment was in 7 years, we became market leader in that area. And we had beaten people who had been there for 20 years and so on. So that I would say is a great moment, not just for me, but for my whole team. We only had a team of maybe 20 people on the sales, marketing, development, technical side, and for the whole of India. So, and of course, we were part of a multinational company, and we leveraged that strength quite a bit.
So there would be a lot of IIM alumni, or frankly, just people out there who are tasked with a similar daunting kind of situation, right? They work for maybe the underdog, or they're trying to set up something. So, what were some of the qualities, I guess, or what were some of the ingredients in this success, in your opinion?
As I said, some of the things we could do differently. For instance, in that industry, there were very few MBAs. We said, okay, let our sales and marketing team be professionally qualified management graduates, that gives them a sort of better ability to go and speak to people on the other side who are all the smartest, brightest management graduates. If it's Unilever and Colgate and Procter and Gamble and all these kind of companies, and that helped. They were more partnership oriented, discussion oriented, conversation oriented, trying to understand client and their issues, their pain points, their and to some extent debate with them possible solutions. And so they had to be on the same pedestal as the customers. So that was one strategy that helped. And the second thing was that we focused only on a few customers. So, like everybody else, we did our ABC analysis, and within the A, we had an ABC, and then we said, okay, where do we find a good fit with what we can do, what we can offer, with what these clients could be looking for. So we focused on those companies. I wouldn't say everything was a success, but there was a large degree of success with those set of customers. There was a company which placed an order after 4 years of working with them. And 4 years of not just on and off, 4 years of more or less like a fortnightly meeting, right? And
Wow. Okay.
discussions. So it took that much of time. Eventually, with that company, we had market leadership. With that company, one company.
Right.
Okay. It was a different strategy, different approach, a bit more calculated, crafted strategy. But also important is to note that we could wait for results. We didn't have to show dramatic quarter to quarter results in the beginning. And that helped as well. So I would say the hiring strategy, the sales approach or customer engagement strategy, and to some extent being able to be of value to the customers. And I have to say, I have left that company, and I think the company is still in India after several years, either number one or number two in India.
Wow. Okay. Good foundation. You obviously had a very big change from there. Like you worked in a corporate environment, and then you moved to doing your own thing. So I'm sure there's a story there as well.
Yeah, it's very different. The world is very, very, very different. Um, Obviously, you don't have the corporate layer of comfort and support and monthly paycheck. But equally, there are interesting things that you get to shape what the organization would be and what you want to do and how you want to do. You get to build teams of people that are more aligned to your vision. And in our venture, there's also another satisfaction that we are actually helping a large number of youngsters
Right.
go through their childhood, their school years, and end up as hopefully good citizens for the world. So that's the added satisfaction as well. In terms of challenges, there are always many. So Singapore is not it is a growing market, but not in dramatic numbers. Matured market with a lot of significant entrenched players and so on. So that we had to obviously find our niche, our differentiation when we position. And we had to create a compelling vision for everybody who joined us. So we had about two or three guiding principles. One was that it had to be very high quality, not even sort of middle level of quality. So it has to be at the high end of quality, and quality takes time. The other was that we wanted all the students to be happy while they are at school. Again, a bit difficult to define happiness and Suffice to say, every day they must feel like coming to school. There must be fun elements in school. There must be activities that they can do beyond the usual classroom. We have 41 sports teams across different kinds of sports. Half of our students play competitive sports with other international schools. Um, we have a very strong sort of techno STEM competition pursuits. The school was one of the, I think, one of two or three schools from Asia Pacific to participate in a NASA rover competition in the United States.
Wow.
We didn't probably win it, obviously. There were other people who've been doing it for a number of years, and but it was a good experience to send our people to these kind of things. And very recently, I just want to name this that our a team of girls from our school participated in a tech challenge, which was run by TCS and supported by the government of Singapore as well. And they were one of the four teams which went to the finals. Two out of four teams were from universities.
Wow. That is pretty cool.
So, I mean, these were girls, and they had their objective was to encourage more and more women to look at STEM, to look at technology and the tech sector, which is being talked about everywhere as we speak. So this is our principle number two, if you would. And number three is we are not a selective school. So when we admit a range of students with a range of abilities. And while we celebrate the successful students, we also ensure that all the others have their own place in the sun, and in some way celebrate every student, offer what they have to achieve. And I have to say, our team has been very good. Successive leaders, teachers, and all the others have kind of embraced these philosophies, and therefore it's reflected year after year. One success that the school has achieved on the academic side is the school ranks among the top 30 IB scoring schools, global top 30.
Wow.
And for the past 4 years, every year. So success takes time.
This is a very nice, more inclusive, and frankly, just a much better way of handling things. And I totally can see how it'll take a lot of effort to build that into a process. And speaking of people who struggle or maybe have challenges, tell us a little bit about, a time or, moments in your life or career when you faced challenges. What did you learn from that experience, and what can maybe others learn from that experience as well?
Um, I would say I had three moments in my career when I thought I was kind of reaching end of the road, or a brick wall ahead of me. Um, it happens. The first time, I just left the company. I was young. I didn't like those kind of threats on my capability, and like everybody, I said, okay, market is there. I'm sure I can get another job. So I left and uh, joined another company and did similar things. Um, the second time it happened after a few years, I chose to do differently. I said, no, I don't believe I should give up. I would like to stay on. I'd like to fight it out. I sort of accepted a new role. Many times you're in a role, you perform well, and then somehow your bosses chair or some other similar chair attracts you, and then you set your goals on that. And when you don't get it, if you have set it very, very strongly, then you're even more disappointed, right? So it was one of those situations. And then I said, okay, if there's another role, if there's which also I could perform, I can take it. And I did that and stayed on for 7 more years doing that role, and did quite well as well. So that was number two. And the third time, I had a similar situation, and I said, maybe it's time. And this was the end of my corporate career, as I described it. Maybe it's time I try my skills at something else. So I moved out, but did not move back into corporate or a similar role. Then I said, okay, me and my wife talked about what else can we do together, and that's how the school started. And that's completely walking away from everything I had done before. I would say the underlying motivation was um, that I must try new things, number one. Number two is I must see how far my confidence will take me. If you want to push yourself and see where your confidence will take you, there are opportunities.
So, I mean, I know you've done something little different from what many corporate folks do, or many people from IIM do, going to the corporate world and staying there. Um, but have you done something out of the box, beyond the, the beyond the career, business, money, that kind of world? Have you done something outside that?
I took to writing quite late, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. So I did two things at the same time. One is I started contributing to some articles to the Business Times in Singapore on marketing primarily, but sometimes uh, business, some geopolitical related business, and those kind of things. And that somehow gave the confidence that I could write a bit more, um, even to the extent of pushing it to writing a book. So as we stand, I managed to publish 3 books, one in marketing, B2B marketing, based on my experience as I talked about. And the other two are more to do with life and skills. And yeah, so that's one side of writing I still continue to do. It's a little bit of a passion more than anything that you can say has been successful so far. The second thing I got into in writing itself was that I have interest in music, particularly the Indian music, more the South Indian, but also the Hindustani music as well. And as part of the writing, I started to critique music concerts. Um, and there is this newspaper, The Hindu in Chennai, who publish every year some concert reviews and so on. So I'm a member of the critiquing team there. I go to Chennai to listen to concerts, and I do the reviews. Again, I've had some good luck there. So, understanding more about music, understanding more about what's written about music, it got me into that track a bit more to make sure that I don't come across as a total novice. Um, so I'm on that track as well. The last one, which is also bizarre in some way, is that about a couple of years ago, I started to write short stories in my mother tongue, which is Tamil. I had not written anything in Tamil for about 40 years, 45 years. Then I suddenly started to write one after another and so on. So I'm probably coming close to 100 stories, short stories written in reasonably acceptable Tamil. Um, so That's another very satisfying hobby that I have.
You actually do it quite seriously, though, I would say, right? It's almost the equivalent of having a, like a third career, which happens to be running on the side. So quite nice. How do you keep up the discipline of this, or
Um,
how do you plan this out?
I don't have any secrets there, but it's sometimes very challenging. It's you need the, as they say, the writer's block, right? So you need to overcome the writer's block, and sometimes it's lack of ideas, sometimes it's lack of time, sometimes you yourself quality. So you have to go beyond that, and I've been, I suppose, I've been getting some blessings from above. Um, Whenever I'm stuck, I seem to get some ideas to be able to convert it. As far as books are concerned, it's a different, completely different environment and world. Once a publisher um, takes you on, then from that time onwards, they dictate the schedule. You have to meet those deadlines, and because they more or less mapped it out until the book release, and they don't give you too much of leeway.
Hmm.
Uh, so one thing I did, because I haven't written too many books, the advantage I had was when I approached the publisher, I almost had the whole book ready. Um, but people who write more prolifically may not do that. I mean, they might have an outline, they go to a publisher, and then they might get a okay, and then they start to write the rest of the book. I suppose it's even more challenging for them um, because they are not at, let's say, 70-80% level of completion, right? Um, so if somebody drives
Right.
you, I would say it's good. If somebody chases you, it's good. Um, Somehow you'll get it done, and you will you will somehow find the right ideas and the right tools to get it done. Even as an entrepreneur, of course, you have some time pressures, and sometimes time just runs away. But if you contrast it with corporate life, there is more time is a bit more plannable in your hands. And if you can do that, I think something like this is, I think everybody has talent. Everybody has some talent. Okay, writing is one, music is another, maybe. Everybody has and some very good talent. It's just that maybe they haven't explored, maybe they haven't tried, and maybe they are looking for very sort of high level of results. I wasn't looking for very high level of results. I just said, let me go with the flow.
Right. This is what I mean. In today's world, people would call a side hustle, right? So, so you've effectively been running a side hustle for a while. So, so do you have any tips or advice for people who are potentially earlier in their career for how they could maybe do better?
One tip I would give is start early. I didn't do early enough. Um, Maybe I can give the excuse that maybe the corporate career was too, and I didn't find the time and so on. This is what everybody would probably say. But nevertheless, try to start early, because then you have a long runway of 20, 30, 40 years to build that one. And don't look for quick results, easy results. Things happen sometimes. There's no perfect linear path to success in those things, but take it on and do it early. That would be one thing. In terms of the career itself, I'm a strong advocate of um, being receptive to changes to the extent of even disrupting. Uh, so, do the unthinkable, disrupt your career, pack your bags, go somewhere else, do a totally different thing. Um, of course, everything is not risk free. There are risks. Um, you're giving up something that's known versus something that's going to be unknown, and so on. But within that, I'm sure there would be opportunities where you would still be able to confidently pursue. Some people are willing to do it, realize it, and therefore take it on earlier. Some people have tried something, it didn't work out. So if you had tried it early enough, you might still have a recourse to go back and do things that you were more familiar and you were more successful in. At some point, you're not the only decision maker. You consult other people, family, and everybody else, and there are different opinions that flow in. That's the other thing. Listen to a lot of people, but evaluate their opinions. Uh, you don't need to completely go
Right.
with everybody's opinions.
So, one other thing, since we are on this vein of, advice for people as to how to do well, given that, you've been an educator now for a while, and you've seen children grow from being children to teenagers to finishing school and then moving on in life and so on. Are there any things that you've noticed as maybe ingredients in success or something that differentiates people who go on to being more successful in life versus not so successful?
Um, Again, mine is just one example. I mean, there are different experiences that people have gone through, right? I would say I wouldn't characterize it as not successful. Um, but having said that, people who get good opportunities in life, they're always in better positions to perform better. And when I say opportunities, it's the kind of education they receive, the kind of families they are born into, and the support they get. They probably have an advantage in some sense. But having said that, we always are very surprised by some people who came from disadvantaged backgrounds, and you know I think classic examples of Barack Obama and some others. You can look at their first 25 years, how it went, and then the next 25 years. I mean, no relationship to what was the starting point, right? Children have multiple capabilities, and therefore it's important to both hone them, support them, encourage them at school as well as at home. Um, but a good, happy home where the parents are more engaged with children in their upbringing seems to have a positive effect on their performances at school as well as at university. Um, the second aspect, which this is for current generation, is that I think my generation and to some extent your generation may have said, okay, I know that I'm going to get scolded from time to time. I know that um, I might be asked to repeat something. I might be told I didn't do a great job and so on. Um, Things have changed. I think a lot more positive um, support and encouragement is now needed. Even if students don't always achieve what they are expected to achieve, the parents do have expectations, but um, so a sort of positive reinforcement is even more necessary. So parents also need to relearn a
Yeah.
few things and how they can um, offer more positive reinforcement. At the same time, um, keep the goals and challenges in view for the child to attempt. And in schools, at least, it's a part of the profession. It's called pastoral care. Pastoral at homes is not known as a actively pursued activity by parents, right? It's a very invisible thing that you do every day and so on. So that's where the challenge is to bring up students to do well in later on in life. How do you make sure their motivation is intact? They're Their basic skills are intact. Their confidence is intact. Their optimism is intact. Even if they are not in the top 10 of any rankings. That's part of the challenge for both schools as well as parents
Right.
now.
Right. This brings us back to the point you made earlier, right? Which is you can't just be for the, obviously gifted children in whatever sphere. You need to be supportive to everyone. And I think what you're saying is that that kind of positive support and reinforcement helps them. So it's like a self-reinforcing
Right.
loop. Okay, Bala, this was a really lovely conversation. Before we close, is there anything else that you think we missed out and which you would like to share with either IIM alums or aspirants or the world at large, people who may be listening?
I've offered, and my advice to audience is don't take everybody's advice completely seriously, including mine. And listen to it and make your own judgments out of it at the end. And in the end, maybe you may have a better wisdom as well. You were talking Singapore government, how we can help. Um, the government reached out to a group of Indian businessmen and said, "Can you mentor our students?" Okay. And I think it's not fully defined. So mentoring could be um, the sort of more formal ways, internships and so on in the companies in which you work. But going beyond that, maybe career mentoring, maybe in different subjects and disciplines or industrial sectors and so on. So there is an invitation from the Ministry of Education for people to come forward and contribute or give proposals for mentoring the Singapore university students. And I think that perfectly fits well with the large number of IIM community here. Many of them have skills, ability, experience, and to some extent their own experiences or the children's experiences to share and offer to mentor. Um, I think that could be an opportunity, and the leaders of our alumni association could take it up further.
I was also wondering, there must be
Right.
some organized way to do this. And mentoring is a really good idea. I mean, if out of 2000 odd people, if even 100
Right.
people are able to open internships at least in their respective companies, that's like easily 300
Correct.
students who get an opportunity they wouldn't otherwise get. So
Yeah.
I think
So
that
I
would
think
be
it
quite
may
cool.
need some framework, some organization, some and to make sure that it's aligned with the MOE's goals and expectations.
Yeah. All right, Bala, thank you so much. And for those listening to this episode, we hope you enjoyed it. And if you like it, then definitely please tell others about it. And you know what you have to do. You have to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all of that stuff. So if anyone has comments or feedback that you'd like to share with Bala, we will put a link or give you some sort of a way to access him in the show notes in the description. So feel free to reach out that way as well.
Thank you. Lovely talking to you.